Yo, what's going on, you guys? It's your man's the Grass Ninja. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're breaking down the newest threat facing the Hidden Leaf Village, which is the Shinju known as Mamushi. Now, to keep everyone on the same page and kind of lay out the track of the video, first we're just going to go over like who Mamushi is and how we got here, how strong he is physically, his special abilities, and what makes him potentially the most dangerous version of the other Shinju when you combine everything together. So, let's get into this. Alright. So who and like what is Mamushi? It may sound like a simple question, but if you're new here or like you're just getting back into Boruto and you're trying to get caught up, or even like a long-term viewer, like there are things that you might have like forgotten or just like, you know, you don't remember. So we're gonna go over like how we got here, like who is and what is Mamushi. And Mamushi, like all of the Shinju, is a 10 Tails variant created from his host body. And in this case, the host body is Bug. And trust me, if you barely remember Bug, I don't blame you, but Bug was one of the leftover members of Kara who kind of hung out in Boro's hideout in the Land of Snow. The same place where they carried that technology that was designed to neutralize cyborgs stronger than Jigen. This is where Jigen sent anyone who would basically threaten his seat at number 1. So including people like Ada and Damon, potentially others. But Bug himself didn't seem anything special, right? He was just more of an alcoholic, henchman type character who gave out necessary exposition here and there to keep the plot moving forward. But that doesn't change the fact he was still affiliated with Kara as one of the Outers, or at the very least, is one of Boro's Otsutsuki worshipping cult like followers, or one of the members of the Otsutsuki cult on Earth. Now, Bug is later captured by Code and brought to the 10 Tails, and it's heavily implied, even if not outright confirmed, that Bug becomes the first sacrifice, the first victim to the Claw Grimes, eventually getting absorbed and transformed into the Shinju we know as Mamushi. So now that we understand like how we got Mamushi, how strong is Mamushi? So despite Bug being seemingly the weakest host that we've seen out of all of the Shinju, Mamushi is shockingly powerful. You know, he can react to and even pin down a base form Boruto in combat, which alone puts him above most threats we've seen so far, like No Limits Code and, you know, anybody in that tier. But his durability is actually wild as well, because he can tank attacks like the Purple Lightning from point blank range. He catches Boruto's sword mid-strike, and that's a blade that should be able to cut through almost anything thanks to the jutsu that Sasuke taught him. Like we saw Jura lose a leg by getting sliced by Boruto's sword, yet Mamushi is able to just catch it. But you know, that's all surface level physical stuff. Mamushi has his own set of special abilities, and I don't know if we should be calling these jutsu or not. They are techniques, but he has his own list of special abilities. Now the big one, the big special ability we kind of have to get into would be Mamushi's ability to create endless perfect clones of himself using an ability called Split Apart. Think Naruto's multi-shadow clone jutsu. Except none of these clones lose any kind of strength or chakra or whatever, right? Every clone of Mamushi can fight at full power, which is, again, at a level stronger than Code, you know, rivaling or relative to base form Boruto. And there's basically no limit to how many of these clones he can make. I mean, there are drawbacks. Instead of like losing chakra or strength, Mamushi and his clones lose intelligence. So the more he splits apart, the more primal and animalistic he'll eventually become. But even then, there are base instincts that don't go away, so they retain like a pack-like respect for each other. They retain a pack-like instinct, and they also avoid doing anything that would incur Jura's wrath. So it's not like a weakness that you can exploit easily. Now, the clones can be destroyed by taking out both of the Renegons simultaneously, but doing so doesn't like end Mamushi. It doesn't create a thorn soul, meaning you still have to deal with the original Mamushi. So in short, doesn't matter how many clones you beat, you have to beat the original. Now, on top of just like this endless army of Mamushi, he also has the ability to suppress his chakra. So Mamushi can erase his chakra signature, much like an Otsutsuki would, making him basically untrackable, undetectable through any normal sensory methods, and this is why Inojin and Kashin Koji had to develop this new jutsu that they can use to track and monitor Mamushi through like vibrations or some sonar thing. We'll explain that in another video. And yes, this is a technique unique to Mamushi, since we have to remember The Konoha Sensory Unit could detect Jura and Hidari in Chapter 8 as they registered an unknown entity and Sasuke Uchiha when they first showed up. So their chakra can be sensed, Mamushi's can't. It seems to be a unique property, but they could always change it and it'd just be a flex by Jura, like he doesn't care. But it seems unique to Mamushi at this point in time. Mamushi also carries enhanced perception. So Mamushi can see Ada's Senreigan projections in real time, and the way he reacted to her the first time we saw this suggests he may even be able to interact with her astral form. So Ada did cut the feed before we could see how far this actually goes, but based off the feeling that we get when we're reading this and looking through this, either way, whether he can interact with the astral projections or not, being able to see and perceive any kind of spirit entities on that level is still a major feat, so he has enhanced perception. Now, when it comes to battle, Mamushi's, obviously, he can use fire release. We saw that in the most recent chapter, and he can morph parts of his bodies into weapons, like that demon snake mouth thing that we saw when he first started fighting Boruto, the one he used to catch his sword. And if that wasn't enough, he can still use the Black Band's Shinjutsu, or the claw marks, right? Now, this is what pushes him into a truly, terrifying territory. Not that all the other Shinju can't use the claw marks, but since Mamushi can utilize the claw marks, or the Black Band's Shinjutsu, letting him teleport, reposition, grab targets, break up any kind of enemy coordination instantly, when you combine that with his endless full power clones, you essentially get a walking army that can teleport, that you can't sense, that hits harder than No Limits code, and can essentially swarm anyone in battle, making it a 1v10, 1v20, 1v100. Put simply, if done correctly, Mamushi's one of those characters that you simply can't attack with teamwork. You can't jump Mamushi. Mamushi's going to jump you. Now, it's at this point where we have to kind of address Damon, right? But what about Damon? I already know I can see people commenting or yelling, Damon stomps, he doesn't get past reflection, how do you get past Damon? We have to remember one thing, right? Damon has already been pulled through the claw marks by code, which means there is a way to bypass the reflection of just transporting him via teleportation. And we've already seen a timeline where Ada is consumed and even Himawari ends up dying, meaning there's already a future out there where Damon loses to Mamushi, whether that was in a head-to-head battle or Mamushi got creative enough to remove Damon out of the equation via teleportation. There is a way to get past Damon in this whole thing, but that's a whole separate video though, right? To recap my final thoughts on everything, the main point here is that Mamushi needs to be a massive threat who forces every major character into a brutal, numbers disadvantage. We're looking at a lot of potential matchups here. We're looking at potential matchups like Mamushi versus Boruto, obviously. Mamushi versus Kawaki versus Mitsuki versus Sarada, Damon, Team 10. Literally, Mamushi versus everyone, and if done correctly, this would be Mamushi versus everyone without teamwork. Everyone individually would have to deal with their own squad of Mamushi to deal with. Now, this invasion needs to be huge, because if Mamushi can bring a full army with him everywhere he goes, and he can break down teamwork, this is going to be something we need that pushes each character individually to go to that next level. I need to see either these guys struggle to win, actually struggle, or outright lose in some respect, because it would suck if all of the Shinju basically failed at their mission to eventually consume their target, right? But let me know what you guys think about Mamushi down in the comments. While you're at it, make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, do all that YouTube stuff for me. I'll catch you guys in the next one. I've been your man's the Grass Ninja. Peace.